Welcome to a new way to level up in D&D. More classes, more customization, easier multi-classing. If you are looking for a fun twist to character progression, then you are looking for D&D skill trees. If you'd like to learn more, check the description. Otherwise, on to the video. Hello everyone, welcome back to another DST video. Today we're talking about the Battlemaster of the DST system, the Dragoon. If you want to be controlling the battlefield while being a full martial, the Dragoon is the class choice for you. Instead of using superiority dice and maneuvers, the Dragoon uses skill points and skilled strikes. And I'll be kind of explaining how that system works as we go. But to note, the Dragoon is not actually the one that won the class vote this time. It was a tie between the Dragoon and the Thaumaturge. One of the members of my Discord channel was specifically asking if the Dragoon could be next, and since there was a tie, I thought it only right to do the Dragoon next. But starting us off, we've got a few different things to discuss before we even get into the starting benefits of the Dragoon. That being that they actually have a D4 plus a D6 hit dice, which might be a little bit confusing at first, but the reason it's done this way is for a purpose you'll understand later. Basically, they get 2 hit dice per level, those being a D4 and a D6 for the level up of hit points that you'll get to your maximum. But when considering what hit dice you actually have for like short rests and such, you have a D6. So this generally means that you'll have more hit dice worth of hit points than you'll have maximum hit points, because on short rest you'll be able to roll 2d6 for your per level heal rather than only a d4 plus a d6, which is what a normal level up will give you. Notably also, instead of strength or dexterity, constitution is the major stat of the Dragoon, and that is because of the way that skill points are determined. Intelligence is their spellcasting stat, but let's hop into the starting benefits of the Dragoon at your starting node. It is 10 plus your constitution modifier in hit points. You'll have 2 hit dice, proficiency in all armor, shields, simple and martial weapons, charisma and strength saving throws, and you'll get to choose 2 from acrobatics, intimidation, insight, perception, athletics, persuasion, sleight of hand, and stealth. And then you get skilled strikes, which is the meat of the entire class. This is how you use your maneuvers, or your skilled strikes as it's called in the Dragoon's case. This says that you have quick thinking and skillful attacks can be finessed into powerful blows or hypnotizing pressure point targeting. You have a well of skill points equal to your constitution score. And that's why constitution is the major stat of the Dragoon, because you'll want a decent chunk of it for your skill points. You will receive more of these skill points when you gain a +2 skill point feature. And then you can recover skill points during a short rest by spending hit dice and rolling them in the same manner as recovering health. Using hit dice to recover skill points does not heal you, although you can spend hit dice to heal and recover skill points during the same short rest. So this is why the hit dice are done the way they are. So for example, if you had, for example, missing 10 hit points and you had enough hit dice to do so, you could spend 2 of them to heal yourself and then 2 more to roll to get some skill points back if you're low. You also recover all expended skill points during a long rest, and before making an attack, you can use a skill feature. This ability will call for a skill roll, and you can find this number by expending skill points to roll a dice. If you spend just 2 skill points, you roll a d4 for this, 3 will roll you a d6, 4 a d8, 5 a d10, 6 a d12, and you can only choose one of these options when using a skill ability. And that's the basic concept behind it. Now notably, the Dragoon doesn't get a starting skill ability, which means that if you take a 1 level dip into Dragoon, you get nothing. So I don't recommend ever doing that, but we've got 2 paths that immediately give us a skill ability. We'll start on this left path, grabbing the push skill. This says that on a hit, the target is pushed 5 times the skill roll. So, for example, if you spent 6 skill points on this and rolled a 12, your target would be pushed 60 feet away from you. If you spent 2 and rolled a d4 and rolled like a 3, they'd be pushed 15 feet away from you. Really, this is a really nice, right off the rip, 2-level dip ability to just push people on some of your attacks. One of the things I really like about the Dragoon is they actually have a lot of dip potential because of how their skill points are calculated. A few uses of skill points throughout your career, grabbing a 3 or 4 level dip into Dragoon just to grab a few skills that you want to use isn't bad. But if you want to go really deep into the Dragoon, picking up these +2 skill points, which we will grab after this ability score improvement, can help you increase that number even higher. Now, before I go further down this left path, let's pick up these 2 extension points with the knock skill to begin us out. This says that you add the skill roll to the attack roll. This means that basically you're way more likely to hit your attacks because you're using your skill roll to add to the 2 hit numbers. We can then grab another +2 to our skill points, and we can grab the slash skill. So if you thought the knock skill was boring because it only helps you hit, the slash skill does the opposite. If the attack hits, add twice the skill roll to the damage of the attack. So for example, if you spent 4 skill points and rolled a 6 on your d8, that'd be doing 12 extra damage. Pretty nice. On the other half of this extension point, we've got a lunge skill. This says that you can increase your reach by 5 feet, and then if the attack hits, add the skill roll to the damage of the attack. This not only gives you a little bit of extra damage on your attack, but since you use your skill points before making the attack, you can spend this to give yourself an extra 5 feet to your reach, and then hit that target that was just out of reach after you used your movement. Grabbing a +2 skill points after that, we can then grab the block skill. This says that until the start of your next turn, your armor class increases by your skill roll. Notably, you still need to make an attack to use the block skill because you need to attack and then it will increase your armor class. But this is not bad, especially once you get extra attack. Being able to use block skill on your second attack that you're not so interested in making fun effects with can, just increase your potential throughout the rest of the battle by making yourself harder to hit. After that, we've got the drop skill. This says the creature hit by this attack has vulnerability to bludgeoning damage until the start of your next turn. And then you add the roll to the damage of the attack. So, not bad. This is really nice, especially on those crusher feat type builds that really want to go for bludgeoning damage as their main source of damage. But honestly, just giving a creature vulnerability to damage type and having your entire team be able to produce that damage type can be really nice. After that, we'll get a proficiency bonus increase, and we can pick up extra attack. Most martial classes get these feature. It says that when you take the attack action, you may make 2 attacks instead of 1. And then we can grab an ability score improvement. Again, full martial class, we're going to be getting quite a few ability score improvements and feats. We can then grab the break skill. This says that if the attack hits a barrier, deal 3 times the skill roll to that barrier. And if it's a green barrier, treat the damage as if it was a crit. This is really nice. If you don't know what barriers are, I will eventually make a video about them, but notably the important thing to keep in mind is that the green barriers basically reduce all damage they take down to 1, unless it's a crit, which means that the break skill allows you to basically immediately shred through any green barrier you're facing, which is really nice. And then we get Vermilion Stance. This says that as a bonus action, you can spend skill points to gain a red barrier with a number equal to the skill roll. When you take damage, ignore it, unless it exceeds the number on your barrier. If it does, then it breaks, and you cannot stack multiple barriers. So just like I was talking about how the green barrier is really good at reducing large sums of damage, the red barrier is actually really good at reducing small sums of damage. So if you have 50 goblins that can all deal a maximum of 8 points of damage on your turn, but your red barrier has a number of 10, they they actually just can't do damage to you. You're immune to them because you just keep absorbing those hits with your red barrier. After that, we can grab a +2 to our skill points, and then we can grab Vermilion Skills. This says that when using a skill ability, you can spend 10 skill points to roll 2d10 to determine the skill roll. So basically, this is added to that set of skill points you can spend. So now instead of spending 6 to roll a 1d12, you can spend 10 to roll 2d10, which is going to be really consistent compared to the other options that are available to you, although it is the most expensive way to produce these skills. So, there's a bit of give and take, but it is overall pretty cool. Next, we're going to run down this middle path, starting us out with a feat, and then we can grab the Restore skill. Notably, the left path here is kind of damage-based, the middle path here is kind of oddity-based, and the right path here is going to be battlefield control-based in the sense of how the Dragoon plays out. So if you want to be really damage-focused Dragoon, you're going to want to take all the nodes that I already took. If you want to go for battlefield control, you're going to want to go down those right branches and take all those nodes. And if you just want a weird experience, slam down the middle path. Of course, you can go down all of them at the same time if you want to just go for some weirdness, or if you have a specific build in mind, you can pick whichever nodes you want. But going over the Restore skill, this says that a creature hit by this attack gains health equal to the skill roll, which means if you unarmed strike your friend and you have no strength, so you deal 1 damage, you could actually heal them by rolling pretty high in your skill roll, which is a nice way to turn any remaining skill points you have before a short rest into health so that your teammates don't have to roll hit dice. But it also means that you can legitimately save your friend from dying by first hitting them, causing them to suffer 2 death saving throws, and then healing them so that they recover from those death saving throws. Which is a funny interaction, but something that can legitimately happen if you've got the Restore skill. After that, we grab Bonus Surge. This says that on your turn, you can take an additional bonus action. Once you use this feature, you must finish a short or long rest before you can use it again. This is Action Surge for your bonus action. Notably, the Dragoon only has 2 features that ever use their bonus action, those being the Verdant Stance and the Vermilion Stance. And the Stoic Stance, so 3 features. But this is actually a really nice 2-level dip on any character that wants this feature for some other ability, or if you're playing a full Dragoon and you jump into a rogue or something, being able to get extra bonus action potential from either feat choices or your multi-classing choices or even your subclass choices can mean that this bonus surge can go way further than it's normally meant to. Next, we'll go down these 2 little offshoots, grabbing the Goad skill first. This is really useful if you've got Vermilion Stance or Verdant Stance. It says that when a creature is hit by this attack, it must make a Charisma saving throw. And now this is how the DC for all these saving throw based abilities are determined. It will be DC equal to 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus the skill roll. So for example, normally you'd add a modifier specific to it, especially with spellcasting, you'll add the spell stat that is of your class. But for the Dragoon DCs, you'll be adding the skill roll to the DC, which means that 8 plus your proficiency, we'll assume it's +2 because that's pretty average, so 10 plus the skill roll. If you spent 5 skill points and rolled a d10 and rolled an 8, the DC will be 18. If you, for example, went all in, spending 6 and rolled a d12, you happen to hit a 12, the DC would be 22. But if you don't really care about the DC and you're assuming they'll fail anyway, you could spend 2, roll a d4, maybe you even just roll a 1, the DC is 11. So the DC for all your abilities that use DCs on the Dragoon can be really flexible and kind of gambly in the sense that you want to spend just enough skill points to make sure that your roll is good enough. And this can be especially useful if you've got feats like Magician Initiate or Polaritist Initiate, allowing you to switch up the way that dice work, or even if you just have a Magician in your party to help you out with some of those dice rolls. But overall, when the creature fails this save, it will have disadvantage on attack rolls against all creatures except you until the end of your next turn. Next, we'll have another +2 to our skill points, and we can pick up Parry. This is one of the few features that does not actually use the skill point system. This says that when you are attacked, you can use your reaction to make an attack against the creature attacking you. If your attack roll is higher than theirs, then they take damage equal to the difference between your attacks, and their attack misses you. Just a nice reaction that you can pretty much use every single round to just stop something from attacking you. This goes really well with Goad skill as well, because you can goad a creature into attacking you and then hit them when they attack you. On the other half, we've got the Horde skill, which is super fun. It says that when the attack hits, deal your weapon damage type to all creatures within your weapon's reach, equal to the skill roll. This does not, it doesn't care about ally or enemy, by the way. So if you're near your allies, they're gonna get hit by this too. But if you're fighting like 20 goblins and they're swarming you, and you hit one of them with Horde skill, all of them are taking the skill roll damage, which is sick. Next, we'll give another +2 to our skill points, and we can get Annihilation Crit. This is a super fun one in my opinion. It says that when you critically hit with an attack, double your modifier for the damage as well. It doesn't do that much, but if you're playing like a Crit Fisher build, perhaps you've taken Barbarian as your subclass and you got that like crit range increase, then Annihilation Crit allows you to just do a little bit extra damage on all your critical hits, which is kind of fun. Next, we've got Advance. This is an interesting one. It says that when you roll initiative, you can draw a weapon of your choice, and then you may roll that weapon's damage dice and add it to your initiative roll. This is super effective. It also notably works with magic weapons that add like extra damage dice to your attacks. But what's so important about this is that it's only a 5-node dip, so you can pick this up with like Gladiator to get even better initiative. Also notably, you could not necessarily even use that weapon as your main weapon. Perhaps you just have a Great Axe on hand for that D12 initiative boost, and then you just put it back away after you roll initiative. Then we'll grab a proficiency bonus increase, and we can grab Stoic Stance. Now, Vermilion Stance gave you a barrier, and Verdant Stance will also give you a barrier, but Stoic Stance is a bit different and a bit weirder. Stoic Stance says that as a bonus action, you can spend skill points to select a creature within your weapon's reach. You and that creature can reach using the other's position for a number of rounds equal to the amount of skill points you spent. Now this is a little weird, and it is, it's down the middle path, which is kind of the weird path anyway, but basically this allows you to make reach-based or touch-based abilities from the other's position for a number of rounds equal to the skill points you spend. So say you spend 5 skill points, for the rest of the fight basically, because that's 5 rounds, which fights don't last very long usually, you can reach from your, wizard's position. So if you, at the beginning of the fight, use Stoic Stance as your bonus action next to your wizard, you and the wizard now can reach from each other's position, so they can cast touch spells from your position when you're on the front lines, and you can attack creatures that get up next to your wizard with Stoic Stance without having to move, which, it's really weird, but I'm sure there's a lot of fun combos that can be had here. Off this shoot, we've got some more offshoots, that being a feat on the right, as well as Cling skill. This is probably my favorite one, honestly. It says that if the attack hits, select another creature within your weapon's reach. Those creatures are unable to move away from each other for a number of rounds equal to the skill roll. You spend 2 skill points on this and roll at 3, that's 3 rounds. That's basically the entire fight. But it doesn't have a saving throw, and this can be any 2 creatures within your reach. You can take the boss battler guy and link him to your barbarian so that he can't move away from the barbarian and the barbarian always can fight him. If it's a dragon, you latch something to the dragon, and then when it flies away, they stay stuck together, and the dragon has to pull them with them because they can't move away from each other. So he'll be flying at half speed, dragging your barbarian with it into the air so that it can keep wailing on the dragon. I just love the visual behind Cling skill so much. You statically charging 2 people together so that they can't leave each other's grip. Super fun. On the other side, we've got an ability score improvement and frenzy skill, a lot less fun but is very useful. It says that if the attack misses, because remember you have to use these skill points before making the attack, so if you make the attack and it still misses, you can make another attack against a different creature within reach. If that attack hits, deal extra damage equal to the skill roll. So just a little bit of, protection against missing, I guess. Efficient Mind. This is a nice pickup, and honestly, I think most Dragoons are going to want this just to avoid running out of hit dice if they are doing a lot of fights throughout the days. It says that you regain your Constitution modifier skill points on a short rest. So just a little bit of extra non-hit dice spent skill points recovered. Speaking of skill points, we'll just grab 2 more right here. And then we can grab Stoic Skills. This says that when using a skill ability, you can spend 8 skill points to roll 1d20 to determine the skill roll. So notably, this costs 2 less points than Vermilion skill, which was 10 for 2d10. But 1d20 can always roll a 1, whereas 2d10, the lowest you can get is 2. So there's kind of a trade-off in points there, so if you are wanting to be more of a gambly playstyle, Stoic Skills will probably be better for you, but Vermilion Skills is more consistent. So it depends on your type of playstyle, which one is better. And let's finally go down the right path. This is the very battlefield control-esque side of the Dragoon, starting with Cripple skill, which says that when the attack hits or not, so this works even on a miss, you can add the skill roll to the damage of the attack. This is another honestly really nice pickup if you want to just like multi-class into the Dragoon quick to just get a little bit of extra damage off with maybe even something like a Samurai, which is already great at dealing damage on misses. This can help you just deal a little bit more damage without having to put too much effort into it. But if you do want to go far into this, of course you can be picking up things like Vermilion Skills and Stoic Skills to deal a ton of extra damage on a miss or even a hit, because this works on a hit too. Next, we'll pick up another ability score improvement. You'll note that the Dragoons actually have a lot more ability score improvements than they do have feats. But we've got some offshoots here, starting with the Disarm skill. This can be really interesting if you're in the right campaign for it. It says a creature hit by this attack must make a dexterity saving throw. DC is 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus the skill roll. And if they fail, they drop any items it's holding. It'll drop all their items they're holding. Which, if you're fighting against a creature that's using like a staff of power or like a super strong sword that's like magically charged up, or even something like if you're fighting a magus and you steal their sword by making them drop it, then picking it up and running, they can't use Spell Strike anymore. Like, it's done. They have to have their weapon. That's their spellcasting focus. And I just love the concept of like yoinking an enemy's weapon and running away, and then looking at the enemy going, "What are you gonna do?" And they have to like punch you to death, but they have like no unarmed strike synergy, so they'll just be doing their strength modifier damage plus 1. I love it. Plus 2 to your skill points, and then we can get Bleed skill. This works really well in tandem with the monk's Tiger Fist ability, because both cause the bleeding effect, but there are different sources, so it will double down on it. The Bleed skill says that if the attack hits, every time the creature takes damage, deal extra damage equal to the skill roll, and this effect ends if the creature is healed or gains temporary hit points. So say you spent 4 skill points to roll a d8 and rolled like a 3, you got unlucky, that still 3 extra damage on every attack that's dealt to that creature until they get healed. Say you spent 6 and rolled a d12 and rolled a 9, that's 9 extra damage every time they take damage until they get healed or gain temporary hit points. And you can just keep stacking this on a boss and making them die really fast unless they have some form of barrier or way to heal themselves, because obviously barriers will ignore this. But if they don't, and they're out of barriers or they have no healing abilities, you will very quickly ring the damage up and pull them into the ground. This is one of the main things that I wanted to commit to in making the system, martial classes are really good at dealing damage and doing extra stuff in combat. Spellcasters are stronger because I buffed spellcasting, but I buffed martials more. Over here we've got the blind skill. If you do want to play a bit of a caster and do a little bit of extra battlefield control, this says that a creature hit by this attack must make a Constitution saving throw. DC will be 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus the skill roll. And if it fails the save, it's blinded. It can repeat the save at the end of each of its turns to remove the condition. Notably, this does not have a timer on it. If you blind a creature and they do not have enough Constitution bonus to meet your DC, they are blind until they increase their Constitution modifier or like get greater restoration or something. Like it can literally permanently blind something if you roll a high enough skill roll to make the DC something they can't reach. Just let that set in for a second. +2 to our skill points, and then we can grab the Confuse skill. This is a fun one. It says that when a creature is hit by this attack, must make a Wisdom saving throw. DC, same as always, plus the skill roll, 8 plus proficiency bonus. If it fails its save, its next attack is made against the nearest creature on its next turn. So basically, you hit a creature, if they fail the save, their next attack is going to be the nearest creature to them. So if all your allies are far away and you walk away from the creature, the next attack will probably be made against one of its allies. Next, we've got Break Ground, and this is honestly another skill that I really would love to see on a monk, like even a 2-level dip from monk to grab Break Ground rather than picking up evasion on the monk skill tree could be super cool. It says that when you make a dexterity saving throw, so it only works on dexterity saving throws, against traps, against spells that cause them, or against like a Dragon's Breath type ability, you can use your reaction to move up to half your speed. If this brings you out of the area of effect the save was causing, then you no longer have to make the save and take no damage. This is better than evasion if you're fast enough. If you've got a speed of like 40 feet, so you can move 20, and you get out of the area of fireball, you take no fireball damage because you ran away from it. You ran away from the Dragon's Breath so it couldn't hit you. Next, we've got Stutter skill. This one's a little weird also. It says that after making the attack, you gain speed equal to 2 times the skill roll until the end of your next turn. So if you rolled a d10 and rolled a 9, you'd be getting 18 feet of speed, which is probably only going to be able to get you 15 feet, depending on if you use a grid or not. But still, it could come in handy if you're in a chase sequence. But I do struggle to see some of the situations where this is useful. After that, we can pick up a proficiency bonus increase, and then we can grab Protect skill. This says until the start of your next turn, a creature within your reach gains AC equal to the skill roll. So this is basically like the block skill over here, but you can give it to an ally or an enemy if you really want to. They don't have a saving throw against this, but I mean, it's a bonus, so I don't know why you'd want to do this against an enemy. But it's really nice to just increase the AC of like your wizard if they somehow got pushed into the mid-grounds of the field. We next get an ability score improvement, and then we can grab Way skill. Way skill says a creature hit by this attack must make a Constitution saving throw. DC is 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus the skill roll, and if they fail this save, it is restrained, and it can use its action to attempt this save again. Notably, again, it's a Constitution saving throw, so enemies usually have high Constitution, but if they don't, and you roll a high enough DC with your skill roll, say you used a 1d20 to determine it using Stoic skills, and your Magician portents it to be like an 18, your DC could literally be like 25-ish. And if they don't have a +5 to their Constitution, they will be restrained for the rest of their existence, which kills them immediately. Can you imagine having that happen to you during a fight? I love the Dragoon, it's so cool. Next, we'll grab a Verdant Stance. This one is the other barrier that the Dragoon can have access to. It says that as a bonus action, you can spend skill points to gain a green barrier with a number equal to the skill roll. When you take damage, mark the barrier number down 1, and when it reaches 0, the barrier breaks. If you are critically hit, the barrier takes the damage in full. So this is just explaining how a green barrier works, basically. So you'll say you rolled an 8, so your verdant stance barrier gets a number equal to 8. That means you can take 8 normal hits before it breaks, or a critical hit with damage 7 or less, or else it'll just break. So that's how green barriers work. After that, we can pick up a +1 attack. This is, of course, useful because especially the Dragoon being a class that gets both extra attack and +1 attack means that if they can make 3 attacks per turn, you can use 3 skills per turn, which is pretty nice. After that, we get a +2 skill points again, and we'll finally pick up Verdant Skills. This one is probably the most boring in my opinion because I'm a very gambly type player, but if you're not a gambly type player and you want to make your skills last as long as possible, Verdant Skills says that when using a skill ability, you can spend 1 skill point to have the skills roll equal to. It is the most efficient use of your skill points if you want to use a lot of skills every turn. But it is a bit boring in my opinion. It really depends on your playstyle. I mean, of course, if you want to play that way, go for it. I'm not telling you how to play the game. But very interesting class. Overall, I think the Dragoon is a really interesting implementation of the Battlemaster style of play, but making it not only more unique in the aspects of how many skill points you want to spend, which ones do what. I mean, notably, I made the skill points be double the amount of points spent for the dice. So if you want to roll a d4, you're going to have to spend 2 skill points just to make it easier for you to remember what you're rolling. So if you want to roll a d10, you immediately know that, oh, it's half the d10, so 5. The only ones that are kind of weird to remember are the 8 for the d20, the 10 for the 2d10, and the 1 for the 2. Which, again, maybe it's just me, but I think that most of those can just be remembered. In general, I think this is actually about as complex as the Battlemaster, which is what I was going for in the end game, was to make not only a class that filled the shoes of the Battlemaster for my system, but also didn't exceed the complexity of the Battlemaster while still giving you that same itch. You know, the stronger skills that you'll want to use in less situations but are still good are further up the chain, where the more simple skills that you'll probably be using a lot more often are easy to get to, so that if you just want to dip Dragoon for just a few times per day uses, you can, but if you want to go full Dragoon, you can be the battle master of your table. And I think that the Dragoon does a good job of doing that. But tell me what you think of the class in the comments below, but let's hop into the votes for this week. We are getting down there on classes left to talk about. Once we get under 10, I'm going to start just putting them all up for vote, and whichever one gets the most will be the next one. And if there's ties, I'll just pick the one I like the best or something like that, because we're getting pretty close to the end game here, guys. Let's bring up some classes that I just finalized for the votes this week. For options, we've got the Warden. This is the sorcerer-esque class that you get your magic from your bloodline, but instead of it being a normal arcane bloodline, you were born or somehow cursed in some way to have monster capabilities, not only allowing you to act such as a legendary creature, but also allowing you to lock down the field with your super effective and specialized version of spellcasting. Or we could check out the Guardian, previously called the Commander. This is the class that's all about protecting its allies by taunting its enemies and instead of attacking itself, telling its allies to do its work for it. The Guardian will be a lot more of a Commander type playstyle, where you don't actually do much on your turn, instead giving your actions to your allies so that they can do stuff. Or finally, we could check out the Artificer. Again, I fixed the Artificer recently and made it way better, but it did originally win a class vote a few weeks ago, and I said I would put it back up once it's done. It's been done for a while, so if you guys want to vote for it this week, you can. The Artificer, of course, is your typical tinkering style character that makes contraptions, gives out specialized armor and equipment to their allies or themselves to buff themselves in a myriad of ways. Taking a book from the Manipulator's style of play, where you basically get to steal different nodes from random classes and implement them onto your gear as infusions. I think the artifice is really cool, but vote for whichever one you want to see next in either the comments below, or you can join my Discord server, also linked in the description, and you can vote in the announcements tab there. Whenever I release a video, I always post for what votes get voted on next. But thank you all for watching this video. I'm so excited to be almost done with this entire system, which is a little sad because I've had a ton of fun talking about all these things. I love this system, but of course we've got a lot of videos left to do. But as always, thank you for watching. It was a joy to make this class guide, and I hope that you enjoyed watching it. If you liked the video, please like it because it helps me make more videos like this. And if you wanted to subscribe, I would really enjoy it because it helps me, I guess, feel good about myself. But of course, I would love to reach 1,000 subscribers sometime soon. So I would love a subscription. Either way, thank you for watching. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day, and goodbye.